Welcome, welcome, Wise Chat. It is Monday, September 23rd. Producer Henry here saying thank you for joining us. I hear you got a case of the Mondays. Michael will be in just a moment to take a look at that. Go ahead, get cozy, like that stream, and we'll be right with you. My Monday's going pretty good, Kian. I hope everybody in the chat's not suffering through the worst of it. Let's have a good week. Getting a lot of first time on time people. Just remember, you're always on time when you're here. Hey there, Sean. Wait, Wobbles, are you a duck? You have a duck heart? Did you have some sort of surgery? Or I'm very confused. Please tell me more. What is up, Mav? Shout out to the most recent episode of Vox Podcast on why pop culture. Very, very insightful as to why contemporary pop culture is still worth studying.
Ooh, Monday. You know, Monday fun day, had to run day, drink some rum day, feeling dumb day, caught some Sunday, and had some Tums, because my tummy was hurting from all of that fun. Hey, it's Monday. We have a case of the Mondays. You have a case of the Mondays. Everyone has a case of the Mondays. This is our Monday stream over here at Wisecrack. I'm Michael Burns here with producer Henry. If you have never joined us before, welcome. If you're here, you're on time. If you're not here yet, you're still going to be on time whenever you get here. If you're watching this 9 weeks from now, you're still on time. If you're watching this on a hard drive that's discovered 400 years from now and you have questions about our civilization, like, we biffed it bad. We knew what was going to happen, in case you're wondering. Like, we knew it was going poorly, and either we were so alienated from systems of power that we were unable to do anything, or in our cowardice, we didn't have the ability to band together and actually try to save our planet and civilization. So it's kind of on us. You can determine in the future which one it was. You know, it's often the owl of Minerva that flies at dusk and retroactively decides the truth of that which has happened. You know, as Kierkegaard said, I don't know if you guys have Kierkegaard in 400 years, life is lived forward but understood backwards. So, and this is a stream, and then myself and producer Henry are the two most famous people in human civilization, and we're very influential. So, you know, we were sort of gods back in this time. But hello to everyone who's here now. Shouts to all the friends in the chat. I hope that everyone has gotten their TPS reports in. We have a new system for the TPS reports, so hopefully you've all had a chance to check those out. It's really important that we get those right, because if you don't get your TPS reports right, I'm going to have to ask you to come in on Saturday. Shout out to everyone who watched our video on Friday. It was on political streaming. Most people liked it. Some people got kind of mad. Here's some takeaways from that video. One is that, like, I guess people say that Vosh is a PDF file. And, you know, I'm not like a big Vosh expert. Some of the research that we got from Garrett Kruper, who's going to join us on Wednesday on the stream. Wednesday is going to be great, by the way. We have some great guests lined up. But, we were kind of using some Vosh stuff as just an example of a popular streamer, but some people were like, oh, he's a PDF file. Maybe you shouldn't have had him in there. And it's like, okay, fair. Another thing I've realized is that we didn't really highlight women streamers that explicitly in the video. And, that's the thing I wish we would have done a little bit better. I've been more intentional about. So, anyone who noted that, you were right. So there you go. But yeah, Sean Harriman says that. I guess the issue is too, though, guys. And here's the real bummer. So for all of our videos, we put up multiple thumbs, and then YouTube kind of tests them for us. And the problem sometimes is the thumbs that we like don't perform well. Rob, guys, I got to shout out Rob in the chat. I met Rob in person. Rob came to a monthly comedy show that I help run and do here in Los Angeles. And Rob and his wife were there, and they're both so incredibly nice. And his wife played a video game thing we do at my comedy show where this really great comedian, Kevin Horst, who builds video games, does interactive stuff. And it was just great. But then I was just very, the whole show, I'm like, I'm just going to let Rob down. Rob came all the way out here. I'm going to let him down. So very cool thing for them to do. Very cool to meet him in person. Hopefully I can meet more of you in person at some point, but in a point that feels like, in a way that feels normal, like seeing someone at a comedy show. Like, I don't want to meet any of you if I go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and I turn on the light and you're sitting there and you're just like, hello. Don't want that. But shouts to Rob. Let's see. Rob never sobs. He can bob his head like a corn on the cob. Was that an intentional or unintentional 3-6 Mafia reference? But if you haven't checked out Friday's video, check it out. It's on the politics of streaming and how political streaming culture operates. Interesting as well that we got there before Anderson Cooper, because there was a Anderson Cooper special that came out on CNN last night, which I want to watch before I comment on. And it was produced by a young Irish lad. But the topic of the CNN special is something like how the Bernie Bros went right, like right-wing politics, and about like streamers and digital folks. Because who's the one guy? The weird is his name like his name isn't Jackson, because we have our own Jackson. Henry, you'll know what I'm talking about. The guy, he's like 24. Oh, Jackson Hinkey. Is that a guy?
I'm vaguely familiar with the name, but I don't confidently want to say, yes, that's the guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, guys. Rob got Raw Dome in person. I just want to note, you guys, even those of you who feel like you've gotten the best Raw Dome ever. Oh, yeah, Donnie O'Sullivan. Rob got that in-person Raw Dome. So there you go. Logan Reeves is here. Logan just gets to be a mod now. With great power comes great responsibility. But yeah, that CNN special, I guess, talks about people who were left-leaning and got radicalized via Twitch or other means to become right-wing. And I know
Jackson
Hassan is
Hinkle?
interviewed in it. Hinkle, right-wing Zoomer, yes. But I want to watch it, although I'm kind of annoyed that the framing of the CNN special is that it's like Bernie Bros that went right. And I feel like that plays into this really disingenuous narrative about the Bernie Bro. Because here's the deal, guys. The Bernie Bro has never existed. So Chris Maverick says it's not about all the Bernie Bros so much as it's about weird Bernie Bros where this happened. Yeah, I believe that the special is probably good. I just think in the framing, it plays into those narratives of like, the Bernie Bros made Hillary lose. Not true. If you haven't yet, please like the stream. That helps us a lot. The Burning Bro is the guy they burn at Burning Man, Kean Nelson. But and if you missed Friday's stream, because a lot of it got taken down, we talked about Matt Walsh and the little cowards at the Daily Wire have everything set up where if you watch any of their content on a reaction thing, you get copyright struck. And we were just watching freely available YouTube clips of their hit comedy, Am I Racist? And our stream got taken down. So lame. Just lame. Now, today we're going to talk about a few things today, but one thing we're going to talk about for sure, there's an article. I'll share the article in the link now. I'll share the article in the link is the thing that just came out of my mouth. I'll share the article link in the chat. In case you're wondering, is he raw dogging the stream? Sans meds today. Sans medicine. Yes, he is. An article on the TheoBros and the sort of like weird right-wing, theologically influenced contingent that is sort of behind the JD Vance movements of the world. Interested in it because I am interested in like stuff that happens to dudes online. I'm interested in the intersection of theology and politics. So we're going to talk about that. But before we really get into that, want to do a big rest in peace. And actually, here I'll pull something up and I'll send the link to Henry. Let's see. Oops. Here we go. I'm just going to send you this link, Henry, to the historical materialism.
Awesome.
What is it? Obituary for Fredric Jameson, so we could have a visual component here. But guys, for those of you who don't know, Fredric Jameson died yesterday. Now, Fredric Jameson was a professor at Duke University for a lot of years, probably the most important American kind of cultural theorist, Marxist intellectual, purveyor of European philosophy ever. I would say like in 20th century America, you kind of have Jameson, Judith Butler, both from Cleveland, which is interesting. But just an incredibly interesting scholar. And I think that in a lot of ways, I'm going to be slightly pretentious now. I think what I really aim for, and as long as this channel has a future, and who knows how long it is, subscribe to my personal YouTube channel so we have a life raft when this thing falls apart. I'm going to try to bring Henry with me, though, so don't worry. But I didn't just say that out loud. For as long as this channel has a future, which will be infinite because the market is all good, I think I aim for it to be something like Fredric Jameson type analysis, because Fredric Jameson did this sort of Marxist literary criticism that looked at literature and philosophy via the lens of historical materialism. And this is some of this I'm looking right now at the historical materialism eulogy, obituary, whatever they're called. Yeah, so like the second chunk just says, from his early encounter with Sartre's work to his lifelong engagements with Hegel and Marx, Lukács, Adorno, Benjamin, Althusser, he devoted much of his intellectual energies to explore the deep ties between ideology and aesthetics, culture and economy, language and history and literature, architecture and film. In many ways, like the whole idea that we could look at film and literature and popular culture and aesthetics as mechanisms to understand both deeper philosophical meaning and to get a sense of the political ideology of the time. I mean, that's Jameson. Like, at least in an American context, that's why we can do that, because of him. I'm going to read a couple quotes from him that I'm sure you guys have heard before. Let me know in the chat when I read these quotes, and don't lie. And you've heard this one a bunch, and you might not even know that he's the one that said this. And this is from the postmodernism or the cultural logic of late capitalism. Jameson writes, "Someone once said that it's easier to imagine the end of the world than to imagine the end of capitalism." And that part of it's been, I think, popularized in many ways by Mark Fisher and Slavoj Žižek. He then says, "We can now revise that and witness the attempt to imagine capitalism by way of imagining the end of the world." The guy had some bars. Another line from that same book. I'm just reading these off like a quotes website. I'm not doing deep research here, guys. "It's safest to grasp the concept of the postmodern as an attempt to think the present historically in an age that has forgotten how to think historically in the first place." So we hear a lot about postmodernism. We've talked before about how people like Jordan Peterson are big dumb idiots who don't understand what postmodernism is. And these are people who've never picked up a Jameson book because he talks about it in an interesting way. And of course, too, the way that Jameson talks about postmodernism is not as like a, hey, here's a thing we should do. Let's do a postmodernism. He uses it as a structural category to think about what is happening, as a way to kind of like locate and name the intellectual, social, and political trends of the present. So when someone like a Jordan Peterson is like, these bloody postmodernists, they kill millions. They're bloody Marxists don't believe in biology. What is a woman? You know, like when he says that sort of stuff, there's not a lot of postmodernists, right? There are theorists who use postmodernism as a way to understand stuff. I'll read one more quote from the same book, Postmodernism or the Cultural Logic of Late Capitalism. Jameson said, I believe that the emergence of postmodernism is closely related to the emergence of this new moment of late consumer or multinational capitalism. Right, so for him, postmodernism and capitalism are connected. Postmodernism is a way of cultural life that emerges with capitalism. So I believe also that its formal features in many ways express the deeper logic of that particular social system. And he says this is one of the major themes of postmodernism and capitalism: the disappearance of a sense of history, the way in which our entire contemporary social system has little by little begun to lose its capacity to retain its own past, has begun to live in a perpetual present and in a perpetual change that obliterates traditions of the kind which all the earlier social formations have had in one way or another to preserve. I'm going to read this one more time. Let's all lock in right now, okay? Let's all lock in. So Jameson said, and again, if you're just tuning in, this is Wisecrack, Case of the Mondays. It's a stream. Michael Burns here with producer Henry. We're quickly starting with the RIP to Fredric Jameson, one of the most important theorists of the 20th century. He says that there's been a disappearance of the sense of history. He describes it like this: the way in which our entire contemporary social system has little by little begun to lose its capacity to retain its own past, right? He's basically saying we have forgotten how to consider the way in which, and this is going to sound simple, but that the present contains the past, that the present is built upon the past, that there is a history that explains the conditions that led to this moment, right? He says that we've begun to live in a perpetual present, and then a perpetual change that obliterates traditions of the kind which all earlier social formations have had in one way or another to preserve. So he's basically saying, like, when we act like everything is the present, everything is new, we forget the history. What happens when we forget the history? We forget that there's historical and material conditions that led to where we are right now, and then we don't have the ability to critically understand why we are where we are right now. And we see this in American politics really aggressively. We see what happens when we forget history. Go ahead, Henry.
I was just gonna say, I believe he's the one that said like postmodernism can only make like it makes us imagine pastiche over like progress, if I remember right.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of wonderful people in the chat are pointing out that we didn't fall out of the coconut tree. Yes. You guys are great. I like you guys so much. I hope that's okay that I like you guys so much. But yeah, I think it's important to remember. I think a lot of the stuff we try to talk about here with you all, a lot of stuff we try to talk about in the channel, is the acknowledgement of that, you know? And I think that when I get mad sometimes about people on the internet that, I'll give an example. I'm going to give a spicy example. You know, what's up, Maeve? We haven't seen you in so long. So good to see you, Maeve. Shouts to Maeve Callahan.
Oh, hey.
One of the reasons I get annoyed, and I'll say names here, even people like, you know, like Destiny. Yeah, the Cure Heroes presentation thing is crazy. It's crazy, Long Pork. You're spot on. But people like that annoy me because they're grand intellectual proclamations about things like, for example, the conflict in Gaza perpetuated and perpetrated by the Israeli army. Like, that is the thing that just happened. Like, October 7th just happened. And like, there's not almost 100 years of, you know, material historical events that have shaped those conditions. In saying that, I'm not saying that the events of October 7th or any sort of like, you know, violent murder and assault of any civilian is good or justifiable. What I am saying is that, you know, We have to understand things via the historical conditions that led to them. And when we don't, when we only think about the present, when we act like whatever happened on the first day of existence, we do a really bad job of analysis. Henry is indifferent to many of you and likes three of you, but I'm not allowed to tell you who. Yeah, please like the stream if you haven't. It was really weird. It said to me at one point the numbers jumped up a lot and then dropped a lot.
Yeah, I saw spike up to 500, and then we're back to the 470s now.
Yeah, I'm so confused. YouTube, you confuse me. Okay, so let's see. Before we dive into our main topic, to speak about postmodern pastiche and the way that capitalism has gotten everywhere, I am going to talk about our stream partner. I'm on my second cup of coffee today. My first cup of coffee was brewed by Ruby Roasters out of Wisconsin. My second cup is from Yes Please here in Los Angeles. Yes Please is the official coffee sponsor of Wisecrack, of our streams. Like I tell you all the time, they don't pay us money. I hit them up because I like their coffee so much. Whenever you all order coffee via us, use the code Wisecrack, you get 20% off. And we just get a kickback. Not a lot, but it helps us. So it's one of those ways where, like, if you're a coffee drinker, we've just set it up to where you can get some of the best goddamn coffee in America, and it helps us out. This is one of their recent single origins, the Finca Monte Blanco from Huila, Colombia. I'm allowed to say Colombia like that because my best friend's Colombian and he gave me permission. My best friend is Colombian, got mad at me for years because I would refer to Colombia in text with the U instead of an O because my phone was white supremacist or colonialist. But yeah, they make really incredibly good coffee. They have a beautiful website. They're an awesome team. So if you do drink coffee, check out Yes Please. Use code Wisecrack. You get 20% off your first bag. They also have subscriptions. So there you go. And then a big announcement about Yes Please on Wednesday's show. So that's all I'm going to say. Big announcement for Wednesday. Ooh. Let me go check it out. I really love the study of satire like Friday. Philosophy of subculture built on satire like Warhammer 4 Carol Divers are fascinating. Chance, that's great. Chance, like I love talking about that more than I love talking about anything. So thank you for facilitating our ability to talk about stuff like that more. We would love to do it.
Speaking of Warhammer and Helldivers in science
the
fiction
zine, yeah.
and Jameson, it's a bit long to cover here, but if you look up Archaeologies of the Future, I was able to find a copy of it relatively easily online as far as discussions of science fiction and imagining utopia goes.
Yeah. That sounds awesome. And yeah, now that he's dead, you can pirate his books without any sense of guilt. That's what I really believe. Like he doesn't need the royalties. You know what I'm saying? So there you go. Let's see. Oh, and two quick things for you all. One, we have an email address. It's wisecracklive. Actually, three things. 666@gmail.com. Wisecracklive666@gmail.com. Hit us up. Normally on Wednesday, we go through emails, but let us know if you have thoughts on things we talk about. If you have stuff you want us to cover, we check those emails. Two, life advice. Let me know if anyone has thoughts on this. You could say it in the chat. Email's probably easier, so I won't forget it. I'm currently leasing a car. The lease on my car is almost up. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, guys. Do I purchase the car at the end of the lease? And here's what I know. The car that I have, when you lease a car, they give you a price at the beginning of what the buyout is at the end. It's a lot cheaper than it would be to buy my used car, if that makes sense. Do I lease another car? Is it better just to keep leasing? Do I just lease forever? I'm not exactly sure what I should do. I'm bad at money stuff. I spent so many years in school in a little bubble that I just didn't learn a lot of practical life skills. I didn't have a car for like a long time, like a decade. So this is my first car I've had. And like the last time I had a car, Obama was president. So if anyone has thoughts on that, let me know. The other question I have for you all, and this is not for sure yet, but it's looking likely that we are going to have a 12-hour type of holiday mega stream before Christmas, an in-studio event with guests, with special sponsors, with all types of stuff. We've talked about it before here. Shoot me an email at wisecracklive666. Someone wants me to buy a Honda. I'll tell you the car I have. I have a 2021 Subaru Crosstrek. It's the base model. I've had it for 3 years and it currently only has 22,000 miles on it. I kept it way under the mileage thing. And um, the price that I can buy it for now is like $8,000 less than the market value of the car. So that's the thing that makes it tempting. Move to New York. Okay, I'll do that. But if you guys have thoughts on our holiday mega stream, let us know. Like, are there guests you want us to try to get on? Are there things you want us to talk about? Are there comedians you want me to try to get on? Like, if you just have thoughts, let us know. Some of you have already in recent weeks given us some ideas that were really good. So I'm going to look into some of those. But holiday mega stream, it's coming. I broke this. So please do let us know if you have thoughts, you want you to be involved. And I'll say this, if you are in Los Angeles area and you potentially want to be in the studio audience for the holiday mega stream, shoot me an email. I don't know if this is me inviting murderers into the house, but there's no guarantees. I don't even know if I'm allowed to do that. But if you are in the Southern California area and you think you might want to be in the studio audience, let us know. Sean got a Crosstrek? Yeah, of course, Sean. You're a deadhead of a certain age. Of course you have a Crosstrek. That's why I have a Crosstrek. Let's see. Yeah, Subarus are great. So someone said CJ the X. Hypothetically, what if I told you CJ the X was coming on Wisecrack Live in like 2 weeks? What if I told you that? What if I told you CJ the X is going to come and we're just going to cook for like maybe the whole show? Rob, there will be beer. Rob likes beer, guys. We do free beers at my comedy show, and Rob got after it, and I appreciate it. So, and Cam Sidecop, I'll tell her you said that. But some more. Oh, that's a good call with some more news. To be honest, but CJ the X is coming. Maybe for the holiday mega stream, is that the day we try to see if we can like organize something with Jordan Peterson and have it be a weird prank?
Yes.
Or should we invite some like right wing? I was thinking it'd be funny to have a debate.
Hey,
component.
Matt Walsh, come on board.
Yeah. I did have one idea that I was going to reach out to some friends that are comedians and assign them a different right wing figure and give them like a month to prep, and they would have to come on and debate me as that figure. Oh, part of me thinks that could potentially be funny. Okay, so let's get into today's thing. That's the holiday mega show. It's hopefully coming. And if any of you want to sponsor a segment of it, if any of you run companies, if you know people who run companies, if you know anyone that has money, we're going to do sponsored segments so we can afford to do it. So there you go. Let's look at this Mother Jones article. We're not going to read the whole thing. It's really long, but we're going to use it as a jumping off point. And, you know how sometimes, guys, we talk about a thing on the stream, and then a few weeks later, a video comes out about that topic? This might be one of those things. So this might be one of those things we work on together. So if you guys have thoughts on this, feel free. So this is from Mother Jones. Mother Jones is not one of my 14 dads. I actually have negative 17 moms and 14 dads. So article title is To Understand JD Vance, You Need to Meet the TheoBros. These extremely online young Christian men want to end the 19th Amendment, restore public flogging, and make America white again. Let's get into it. And the TheoBro thing I'm interested in because back in the day, I studied theology at one point. I still find it interesting. You'll know this if you watched, like our video on Jordan Peterson and Catholicism. You'll know that for someone who's, vaguely, at least intellectually speaking, a sort of Marxist materialist, I have a pretty big soft spot for religion, more than a lot of people of my ilk, I would say. So, I think in general, religion has gotten a bad rap in recent American political life. That said, I think that there's some bad hombres doing some bad stuff, and I think what we see, especially people who are using misreadings of the tradition to more or less justify fascism. So let's check this out. If any of you have thoughts on this, as always, let us know in the chat. Please do like the stream if you haven't already. And yeah, Logan Rees brings up the deep dive on Curtis Yarvin. We might do some Yarvin stuff as well. That's kind of my thing this week. So, oh my God, Chris, we'd love to have you on. Well, Chris, maybe we should do something, Chris, and we should talk about this later, where maybe we'll do like, because we need some guest segments so I can like go to the bathroom at certain points. So maybe we should have like a Vox Popcast segment where like you all take over for like a 15-minute chunk or something like that. Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Am I a genius?
We're just workshopping it here. Like
Am I like really smart? Logan, Logan, you should definitely come.
You're sucking the IQ out of the chat and adding it to your own.
Wow. I'm like Agatha Harkness. I'm going to say one thing. I don't know. Is it someone who's in this chat? I'm not sure, but someone who I know is a part of the Wisecrack fam. I tweeted after I watched the Agatha All Along premiere the other day, when is anyone else going to want to talk about that part with me? And for like 3 days, no responses. And then someone yesterday was like, are you talking about the hand lick? Yes, sir, I was. I would let Aubrey Plaza stab me to death with a million knives and run me over with a garbage truck. Okay. Logan, you can play the banjo between segments because I actually wanted to see if I could get some musical guest. So there you go. Let's check this Mother Jones article out. On July 15th, when former President Donald Trump appeared at the convention, he brought along 2 new accessories. One was a bandage and one was J.D. Vance. Let's see. Second paragraph, yada, yada, yada. Vance. He has a wife who's the child of immigrants. He has biracial kids. Third paragraph says, to many viewers, this seemed like the stuff of a boilerplate patriotic snub speech. But the words shared history lit up a far-right evangelical corner of social media. America is a particular place with a particular people. Joel Webbin, a Texas pastor and podcaster, wrote. This is one of the most important political questions facing America right now. This makes me think of our friend John Duncan got in a Twitter argument with Aaron Bastiani over the weekend because Aaron Bastiani, who runs Novara Media, was like, English identity is good. Leftists need to realize like English identity can be a cool thing. And then young Scottish King King Duncan was like, fuck off, you twat. And then a really funny argument about national identity. Let's see. I'm going to go to, so then someone else, Trump administration official William Wolf said, answer it wrong, the question about American identity, and we will go the way of Europe, where the native-born populations are being utterly displaced by third-world migrants and Muslims. Answer it right, and we can renew America once more. Okay.
Renew America, like, is our contract coming up? Do we get a new end user license agreement? Like, what are the terms?
You know what's so? I mean, this isn't even deep. Okay, but let's be Fredric Jameson for a second. He famously said, "Always historicize." So we have a bunch of white American descendants, I guess, of Europeans who are obsessed with Christianity, a desert tradition developed by Middle Easterners from the third world, who they now think is like their thing. Like, it's like, do they not get that a lot of the people they read about in the Bible would have been brown? Does that make them uncomfortable? I don't know. Do they read the Bible and just picture a bunch of like classic Texas himbo chads doing all that stuff? I don't know.
I mean, even Texas Tejanos are a mix of various races and ethnicities, and aren't exactly like white.
Yeah. And guys, Conover, maybe also any of these you think of, email them to wisecracklive666. I mean, This is probably like a TMI thing. I don't know if Conover is too big of a get. He lives down the street though, so sometimes I see him running. Maybe I'll stop him and be like, "Hey!" But I'll also say that one time he came. Adam Conover once performed at the comedy show I run that Rob came to, and he was like kind of, I don't know. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna stop saying the thing I was gonna say. But ask me later, friends. Vance was embracing one of the their most cherished beliefs. America should belong to Christians, and more specifically, white ones. The American nation is an actual historical people, says Stephen Wolfe, no relation to William, the author of the 2020 book, The Case for Christian Nationalism. Not just a hodgepodge of various ethnicities, but actually a place of settlement and rootedness. I mean, here's the deal, guys. These people are trying to turn adherence to the Christian faith into a sort of racial and national identity in which America is a land that is rooted in that white Christian identity. And their politics then roll out of that ideological commitment to America being a place of white Christian identity. It probably doesn't shock you then that these people are also fans of another country that exists. I've said too much. For this group of evangelical leaders, Vance, a 40-year-old former Marine who waxes rapturous about masculinity and women's revered role as mothers, was the perfect tribune to spread the gospel of patriarchal Christian nationalism. I'm going to say this too. If anyone's watching this right now who's a Christian in America and hates this shit, I think that you're right and they're wrong. And I do not think any of this is implied in the biblical or theological tradition. I think this is just like a way to graft one's fragile drive for power onto a theological tradition. And if I was going to be really bold, like, I don't know, there's times, this is going to be reckless. I'm going to say something reckless. I've been like bordering on recklessness for the past 10 minutes, and maybe we should just go there. Thanks
Monday,
for being here.
Go for it.
The stream. But like, these are just a bunch of dudes who can't deal with the fact that they look around society and their subject type like isn't cool. Like, they turn on the television and they see like people cheering for and laughing at and swooning over like black people, brown people, queer people, people that aren't like them, hell, women. And it bothers them because they want to be centered. This is why people love football so much. It's one of the last vestiges of like American masculine whiteness in all of its finger quotes glory. They look around and they see men who are different than them, who seem like they are having success at getting people to consensually have sex with them. And that like bothers them. They see that people don't listen to the music that they think is important. They see that restaurants are opening up where food is too spicy for their fragile palates. And their reaction against this is the desire to be the biggest boys, to be in charge, to be the big men, big boys. And the irony with all of this, of course, is something I've been thinking about recently, is like one of the things that people like Jordan Peterson and James Lindsay, two terrible men, just terrible guys, that they are saying a lot now is that, Marxism or whatever they think Marxism is like the philosophy of resentment par excellence, which is the biggest, like, every accusation is a confession thing I've ever heard, because these guys' whole worldview is resentment. They resent that they're not cool, that they're not hot, that they're not, to use high school terms, like popular or some shit like that. They all basically have the philosophy of a school shooter in terms of just like, they are alienated and mad that they're not the coolest boy, and they let that I'm not the coolest boy resentment fester until it comes out in this sort of toxic dribble that is incoherent theological, intellectual, and political positions that justify their, cum-fueled, resentful drive to be the biggest boy again when they'll never be the biggest boy again. You know? Like JD Vance is someone who just can't accept that he's like not cool. You know what I mean? Like he just can't accept that. Like he thinks that stuff that he's into should be cool and it's not. And no one cares. And when he steps into a room, no one's impressed. His whole life, JD Vance's whole life is like, I'm going to do all the things that will make other people think I'm a good boy. I'm going to do good in college. I'm going to join the military. Then I'm going to go to Yale. Then I'm going to become wealthy. And he did everything, all the American things, right? I did college at a great school. I went to the military and I served. I became a lawyer. I succeeded on Wall Street. All the things you're supposed to do to be successful in America. He did all of them right. And when he walks into a room, no one gives a fuck. And because of that, he now is a part of a project to turn America into himself.
And we hit 666.
Perfect timing, guys. Thank you so much for being here. There we go. Booty Snatcher said, Jordan Peterson probably doesn't care what other people think of him. What a stupid take. If he didn't care what other people think of him, he wouldn't be like yelling so much. You know what I mean? Like he wouldn't be like crying and defensive all the time if he didn't care. Like if you don't care what other people think of you, your blood pressure isn't that high. You're not in like a meat-induced coma or whatever it was. He did. You're not so like angry at everyone. You don't. If you don't care what other people think about you, you're not like conspiratorial, thinking about how everyone is trying to get you. You know? I don't know, but who knows? Let's see. So I'm gonna go on from this line that says, "For years." And thanks for letting me cook for a bit, guys. Like the stream if you enjoy me cooking. For years, gray and khaki-clad evangelists have faithfully made the rounds at conservative events. However, Wolf, a 41-year-old former Princeton postdoc, it's so weird to me that all of these dudes are like very demographic. And this is why I feel like I'm allowed to spray a little bit more than usual. Like, in a sense, I am these guys and these guys are me. These guys are all in their late 30s and early 40s. They all like went to grad school. They all think of themselves as smart little boys. They're all just like lame white dudes who are like smart. You know what I mean? Like I'm a lame white dude who's an old millennial who went to church growing up, who went to grad school, that thinks about civic engagement. Like literally same thing. And I feel like that's why I get these guys. Like I get it. I don't think it's good, but like I get it. They're not being slick. So he writes, these men in wrinkled short sleeve golf shirts sitting plump in their seats are yesterday's Christians. Among younger activists, they inspire the rolling eyes. They are the embodiment of an ineffective boomer approach taking over the United States for Jesus. In their place, a group of young pastors hope to spearhead a Christian nationalist glow up as they eagerly await a Christian prince to rule America. Because, you know, there's the thing in the Bible about how Christians are supposed to get political power so that they can take over via a figurehead. That's in the Bible. Oh, wait, it's not. Not at all. It's actually the opposite of what you could read as a biblical message on politics. If anything, they're reappropriating or repeating Constantinianism. What is Constantinianism? You guys probably know this, but Constantine, not the Keanu Reeves character from that one movie, was like a guy in the olden days who like killed people and took stuff over and was a big conqueror. And he used Christianity to do that. Oh, we're going to turn the world Christian. We need to all the Muslims, all these, we got to kill them all because everyone should be Christian. But he didn't give a shit about Christianity. He didn't care. He used it as a motive for an underlying political project or an underlying power grab. Right? Like, think about like the Crusades and shit like that. Most of the people that were involved in these things, most of the people that are involved in European colonialism in the New World, they used religion and the spread of religion as the guise for economic and material gain and exploitation, guys. They're not slick. You know, historicize everything. RIP Jameson. And again, when we understand the history, when we understand that this is a playbook that has been used for like thousands of years, we can look at these young men and say, y'all ain't slick, because they're not. But that's the same thing, okay? It says these often bearded 30 and 40 somethings have suits that actually fit. I have suits that fit. They're extremely online. Hello, this is my job. Constantly posting on myriad platforms, broadcasting their YouTube shows from man caves. This isn't a man cave. It's just a normal room in a house that I share with a woman and a daughter, who's also a woman. Broadcasting their and convening an endless stream of conferences and like-minded followers. Let's call them, as one scholar I spoke with did, the TheoBros. Guys, they're like us, but different. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are like us.
Everyone's a poster now.
But different. I've not read Kimmel's Angry White Men. I feel like I need to, Mav. I feel like that's the implication here. But that's the thing, guys. Like, they're us, but different, you know? They have come from a similar set of cultural, social conditions as we have, but they see the world as a place that has not adequately affirmed them, and they need to change that. Thank you, Matt, so much. I feel like we hopefully see the world as a place that maybe doesn't directly reflect our subjectivity type, and we think, oh, that's cool. Like, it's cool that when I walk down the street in my neighborhood, every business doesn't just cater to the desires and drives of a old millennial white straight man. Like, I don't want that. You know what I mean? Like, if that were the case, I couldn't go a few miles that way. I don't want to dox myself. I mean, a few miles that way and go get food in Thai Town, right? Because there wouldn't be a Thai Town if the world directly represented my subject type. There wouldn't be a Koreatown. There wouldn't be, music made by, whether it be like Black people, queer people, people from around the world, that's really good and interesting and challenging, that is made by people that aren't like me. That wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be films made by people that aren't like me, that aren't like us, whatever it might be, And many of us, Logan Reese says in the chat, they're mad the world isn't one big suburb. Yeah. And we've talked about this before. That's why all the Daily Wire people live in like Nashville suburbs. And they live in these Nashville, like white Christian suburbs, and they're still so angry that everything isn't that, Okay, so let's keep going. For all their youthful modishness, this group is actually more conservative than their older counterparts. Many TheoBros don't think women belong in the pulpit or the voting booth, and even want to repeal the 19th Amendment. Like, these guys literally, it's not complicated. They think women shouldn't vote because women won't fuck them. I know that sounds reductive. And a few years ago, I wouldn't have agreed with what I just said. But I've seen enough, guys. You know how like on election night, they'll be like, Steve Kornacki or whatever his name is, like, okay, I've seen enough. We can call Wisconsin for the Democrats. Like, I've seen enough. These guys don't think women belong in the pulpit or the voting booth because women won't fuck them. And because they, like JD Vance, think that I did the right things, I wear the right clothes, I have the right haircut, thus people should want to do stuff with my penis. But they did all the right things, and no one wants to touch their penises. They don't want to be anywhere near their penises. Their peni. Is that the plural of penises? Peni? I don't know. Let me know in the chat. Maybe don't. Maybe that's something we type in the chat. We'll get banned. But so they're mad. And they're basically saying, like, well, if you won't fuck us, you shouldn't vote. Jesus Christ. It's like they don't get that maybe, and I'm not saying like that anyone should do this cynically, but like maybe more women would want to fuck you or hang out with you if you like thought they were people. I don't know. There's just one idea. What do I know? It's just one idea. Okay? Is it peni weenie peenie? For some, prison reform would involve replacing incarceration with public flogging. Unlike more mainstream Christian nationalists like House Speaker Mike Johnson, who are obsessed with the Constitution, many TheoBros believe that the Constitution is dead and we should be governed by the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments should govern us. No, unless they're talking about the 10 crack commandments. Shouts to Biggie. An American Reformer, their unofficial magazine, hagiographies of Spanish dictator. So I'm reading this like live. I did not see this before. Franco. They think Franco is good, appear alongside full-throated defenses of countries that execute gay people. On podcasts, the TheoBros unpack the perils of multiculturalism, expose Burning Man's wicked agenda. I don't know, shouts to them. Burning Man sucks. And peel back the nefarious feminist plot of Taylor Swift. In Wolf's The Case for Christian Nationalism, one of their seminal texts, he writes that in an ideal Christian nation, heretics could be executed.
How do you enforce the whole like? How do you circle "Thou shalt not murder" or "Thou shalt not kill" with like the entire violence apparatus that upholds the state?
I mean, how about this, guys? In the New Testament, Christ says, "I came not to like change the law, but to fulfill the law." There are 2 commandments: love your neighbor as yourself, and love your God with like your heart, spirit, and mind. I know I got that a little bit wrong, guys, but that's like literally like Christ literally comes and says, "Hey guys, my dad realized that the old rules were a little much. So my dad sent me here. Also, I'm my dad. My dad is me. It's a whole other thing. You can write about that after I'm dead. But dad sent me, and now the vibe is different, guys. The vibe used to be tablet rules, whatever. Here's the vibe now. Love your neighbors yourself. Love God. Okay, I'm gonna go become a spirit ghost now. I'm gonna be a force ghost, like Anakin at the end of the remake of Return of the Jedi. But that's like real, guys. Like, and I know that I'm not being 100 bazillion percent, theologically accurate, maybe in like every fucking line I'm saying here, but like that is a real thing. That is a real thing.
Actually, yeah, chat's bringing up the whole like outside the covenant rationalization, and I have encountered that type of thinking where it's like, well, we're not actually all children of God.
Like, and also too, if they're right, then the God they worship is a psychopath. It says the rise of the TheoBros worries more mainstream religious conservatives. So this is like a conservative says about them. I'm not sure what the end game is, other than they want to advance Christian nationalism. A lot of us find it terrifying. Their strategy is bottom up. They aim to convert small American towns into Christian enclaves. But it's also top down. Some are working to position themselves close to the locus of federal power. And of course, Vance, it says here, is a Catholic convert. Catholic converts, and I'm sure there's exceptions to this, are the worst. Here's why Catholic converts are the worst. Catholicism is a version of Christianity with a lot of ancient formalism to it. When you grow up in the ancient formalism, the tradition of liturgy, surrounded by people who are also of that tradition, what you learn is there is a gap between the law and the tradition and like what you do. I'll give you an example. My extended family is like very Catholic. Like, guys, very, very Catholic. But when I've had family members that come out as gay, they're just kind of like, hey, is what it is. And almost all of my cousins who have gotten married have like cohabitated before marriage. No one really like talks about it, right? But no one's like, that's so bad, we should flog her. People have married non-Christians and non-Catholics. So, you know what I mean? It's but everyone also goes to mass every Sunday, whatever. There's a sort of subtlety to navigating things. But then the converts show up and they're just like, everything is literal and real. They're like little kids. They're little kids that don't have the humanity or the intelligence to navigate the kind of dialectical relationship between reality and the letter of the ancient law. And I think that's one of the reasons that Vance is like this, is someone who is like this. Okay. Wait, can you just talk, Henry, so I can make sure I can still hear you?
Yeah, talking.
All right, cool. Sorry. I'm trying a different headphone thing today, so I'm just making sure it works. Matthew, what's up? Hey, everyone in the chat. I know I've been kind of like looking I've been reading So there you go. Reading the article. Someone's username is Subaki. That's the name of like a cool Japanese restaurant. So that rips. Yeah, hopefully everyone's chat's well. And if you're just tuning in, we'll hang for a little bit longer. This is our Case of the Monday show. We'll be back on Wednesday with a longer show. I'm Michael Burns. I'm with producer Henry. Today we're talking about this recent Mother Jones article on the rise of the TheoBro and Christian nationalism. Really exciting stuff. Earlier in the show, we did talk about the passing of Fredric Jameson. So shout out to a real one and one of the greatest American intellectual minds of the 20th and 21st centuries. Read some Fredric Jameson if you haven't. Or if reading books sounds annoying or hard, which it is, there's a lot of Jameson lectures on YouTube. So you can go check those out as well. They're all very long, but what are you going to do? So let's pick this back up. Oh, and just a quick shout out as well. If you and your friends are planning to create a Christian ethno state, you're going to need a lot of energy. And one way to get energy is with coffee. So to all the Christian nationalists out there wanting to start an ethno state, consider Yes Please Coffee. Coffee made in a diverse city by a diverse group of employees, most of whom I'm assuming are non-Christian, getting their beans from lovely non-white countries. And they'll give you all the energy you need to misread the Bible with a Hitlerian hermeneutic to deal with the resentment you have for the fact that no one wants to do you. Yes Please Coffee. Use code Wisecrack to get 20% off. Or if you're just a normal, cool person that likes to drink good coffee, who doesn't want to build a Christian ethno state so you can publicly flog people that have different opinions from you or take rights away from women because they want nothing to do with your slimy body. You can also just drink Yes Please Coffee normally. Code Wisecrack, 20% off. I hope the homies at Yes Please don't see that read.
Hitlerian hermeneutics, yes.
I don't know, guys. I'm going to say it. I think I'm like kind of cooking today. I think I'm cooking a little bit. So maybe we go double coffee, no meds on streams from here on out. Oh, was there another? Chan says, God comes down and says, I should have judged gays more, and Trump was right about judged migrants indiscriminately. I don't want to hang with him anyways. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like either God is the cool version, or a cooler version, or it's their version. And if it's their version, then we should just, God is dead and we have killed him type thing.
Classic Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah. Okay, so let's read a little bit more of this. And again, guys, I think we're going to do... I don't think, guys, in the next 2 weeks, I'm writing a script for a video on this sort of stuff. You heard it here first. Also, guys, wait for this Friday's video. It's a lot. We have a video coming out Friday. Never mind, I don't want to get fired. Okay, so with no meetings, website, and explicit statement of faith, the TheoBros is an official organization. They identify with 16th century French theologian John Calvin. John Calvin was French, who spawned a rigid and deterministic form of Protestantism. Julie Ingersoll, a University of North Florida religion scholar, traces the current movement back to R.J. Rushdoony, an Armenian-American philosopher who popularized the idea of Christian nationalism in the early 1970s. Out of that movement emerged two camps, the charismatic Christians, which is ironic because they're the least charismatic people you'd ever meet, now known as the New Apostolic Reformation, and the Reformed Protestants, which include the TheoBros. This is the thing too, guys. A lot of these people who convert to Catholicism are just Protestants. They're Protestants who like the fact that Catholicism, I guess, is more directly historically connected to the Crusades and the massacres of others. I think they just don't like Reformed Protestantism because it's less connected to ethno-nationalism. So they had to find that. Let's see. Yeah, Zapatista coffee beans. Shouts to the Zapatistas. Where's the Wisecrack satanic ethno state going to be based? Ooh, we should decide. Where would we want, guys, if you're in the chat, where would we want our ethno state to be? Let us know in the chat. So it says they share the goal of creating a Christian nation, but they differ on key points of theology. So yeah, some of them think God still speaks directly to people through pastors. The TheoBros believe that God said all he needed to say in the Bible. They're also proponents of post-millennialism. This is great, guys. This is great. Listen to this. This is the idea that believers can hasten Jesus' return by fighting against the satanic forces of liberal excess. These people literally think that by like bullying trans kids, Jesus will come back sooner. They believe in a God who's up there in heaven, who's like, ooh, if you only bully some more trans kids, let me hurry down to say good job. Like what the F, guys? What the F? Real stuff that people believe, but it's cool because it's not like these people are directly influencing someone who might be vice president of the country. So it's all good. TheoBro Aaron Wren, an Accenture consultant, of course, a consultant turned Christian pundit, has described our current era as a negative world where Christians are persecuted for their beliefs. Guys, white American Christian men think they are persecuted for their beliefs. They think they are being actively persecuted. I think what they forget is that persecution back in the day meant that they would like kill you, right? So there was a period, after, in the biblical narrative at least, or not even the biblical narrative, in the historical narrative, after the time of Christ and the founding of the early church, the Romans were like crucifying Christians, and the Romans didn't like the Christians because the Christians believed in different gods and the Roman gods, yada, yada. But like, they literally got persecuted. They literally got killed. Drift King, you're absolutely right. They're a bunch of cowardly snowflakes. They think that they're being persecuted because other people don't agree with them. Like, imagine this. Imagine you're 10 years old and your mom in the car on the way to school plays Boys to Men all the time. Your mom's of a certain age. And you decide that Boys to Men is the greatest musical group ever. And you go to school and you tell your friends, like, guys, have you heard like On Bended Knee? Oh my God. Have you heard the way that Michael Bivins hits those high harmonies? I forget if Michael's the high harmony or not. And you're just like, Boys to Men is the greatest group ever. And you tell all your friends in school. And some of your friends in school are just like, no, man, we don't. Dude, it's 2024 and we're all 10. Why would any of us listen to Boys to Men? And you get so mad that you're like, Mom, I'm persecuted. Oh, why are you persecuted, son? Because the other kids said the Boys to Men isn't the best group ever. Hopefully your mom would be cool and be like, yeah, dude, it's like weird. Like, I like this because I'm of a certain age. You should probably like something else. You're not persecuted if other people don't like the thing you like. They just don't like the thing you like. And if you want them to actually like the thing you like, your best bet is just being cool about it. Because then it makes the thing you like seem cool. But if someone's like at your locker, like, hey, if you don't like Boys to Men, I'm gonna fucking flog you outside. They're not gonna want to listen to Boys to Men. Does that make sense? Did that kind of track, Henry?
Yeah, talking about the Boys to Men bubble. That's also part of the overall resentment, I think, is like we're talking about these, 30 and 40 something year olds who are kind of like the last generation to really grow up with like a broadcast monoculture. And so like
Yeah,
a lot of this striver mentality is like engendered in them because they're all like, I did what the TV wanted me to do. Why am I not living the Wall Street
yeah,
narrative? Why am I not like the Ronald Reagan of my era? Like I did
yeah.
the cool super badass movie commando shit. Why am I not a super cool movie badass commando that everybody wants to suck off?
Mommy and Daddy, I did just what Carson Daly told me to do, and it didn't work out. Someone in the chat said, Radiohead fans, by the way, they're right. That's absolutely true. And to be clear, Boys and Men rip. That wasn't like me ripping on Boys and Men, just an example. But that's what persecution. Motown Philly's so good. Oh my God. Got it going on. So yes, that one guy said they're persecuted. Someone else called it a trash world. But again, like, here's the irony, right? Who do they think is persecuting them for their beliefs? And I'm not trying to be silly when I say this, but like trans teenagers. Who is being more persecuted in contemporary society? 40-year-old white Christian men that used to be consultants in finance firms, or trans teenagers that live in Iowa? Like seriously, like who is out of the, if I gun to your head, is the guy that used to be a consultant at the financial services company who has a graduate degree from an Ivy League institution and is a 40-year-old Christian man? Is he persecuted? Or is the trans teenager in rural Iowa persecuted? Who knows? Difficult question. Who could even answer such a thing? Except anyone. A dog can answer that question. If you wrote down both options I just said and you pasted them to a wall and you got a dog and you said, hey boy, which one? He would know. We'll read a little bit more and we'll wrap the show up. Like all self-respecting millennials, the TheoBros have little tolerance for boomers, with the exception of their patriarch, Douglas Wilson, a 71-year-old pastor in Moscow, Idaho. When he was younger, he was going to go into the family business, Christian bookstores. He moved to Moscow to study philosophy. He became involved with the Jesus People, a mashup of evangelical and hippie culture. He founded the Christ Church. He since turned the college town into his own Christian kingdom. He helped found New St. Andrews College, the Canon Press Publishing House, and Logos School, one of the first classical Christian schools where students exclusively study the Western canon. He embraced Calvinism, yada, yada. He helped launch the Associations of Classical Christian Schools. These people are so funny because they're obsessed with like classical knowledge, but they're also idiots. It says in a 2021 Vice expose, former members allege that ministers had encouraged them to stay in abusive relationships. This tracks with, okay, so this is their man. And he wrote a book called Fidelity, How to Be a One-Woman Man, in which he wrote, the sexual act cannot be made into an egalitarian pleasuring party. A man, guys, this is his words, not mine, penetrates, conquers, colonizes, plants. A woman, I'm going to throw up in my mouth, receives, surrenders, accepts. These guys who women would rather hide in a dumpster for days than be around them, read books with each other that refers to the sexual acts as a type of colonization, and receives to women as those who receive, surrender, and accept. And then he says, the dynamic of a dominant man and a submissive woman is an erotic necessity. So all of these, and I'm not trying to be silly here,
Help,
guys.
I can't get hard.
Yeah. An erotic necessity. So these like insecure sociopaths walk around acting this type of way because some weird 71-year-old wrote a book that said that like your wiener is Christopher Columbus and it has to colonize. These people are insane. These people are insane. Well, oh man. Okay, yeah. I mean, we'll wrap it up here. I'm going to post the link to the rest of this article in the chat. Some might say it's annoying that we don't do the whole thing, but I'll say if anything, we're hyping up the publications that we're using here. What are some pickup lines these people could use? Maybe that's okay. I would say if you want to come up with some TheoBro pickup lines and email them to us at wisecracklive666@gmail.com, and we will read them on the show Wednesday. If you want to test them out in the chat right now, that's fine, but then you have to email them to us. So TheoBro pickup lines to wisecracklive666@gmail.com. Okay. And then we will see. No, it is DGM. Like seriously. And we'll see if anyone could come up with some good ones. And again, control our minds. You have a good one. And again, why is this important? Why do we talk about this? Because sadly, these are the people having intellectual and political influence on American political and economic life right now. So, there you go. This has been our case of the Mondays. Guys, Wednesday is going to be big. Here's what I'm going to say. Wednesday, we for sure have Garrett Kruper, who recently did a PhD, Dr. Derek Kruper, who helped us with the video on political streaming. He's going to come on. So this guy, listen to this guy. Let me tell you about this guy. This guy literally does a whole PhD on contemporary political streaming on Twitch and YouTube and things like that. He went deep. He's truly probably the world expert on this stuff. And he's a great dude. He's going to come on and talk with us. So if you have questions about that sort of stuff, Big Bigness, thanks for watching it work. He'll answer them, but really interesting guy. And then this is not confirmed, but hopefully on Wednesday, we will have the star of the Jubilee Charlie Kirk video. Remember the one we watched that was like 20 college students versus Charlie Kirk? The star of that video, the person in the Charlie Kirk video who absolutely just devastated him, is hopefully coming on to join us. So we'll have that as well. Wow, Matthew, the Saul to Paul line. There you go. And just another heads up, we will have CJ the X coming on soon. Some other stuff. We're trying to make the show as good as possible for you all. So definitely set your alarm, set your timer for Garrett. Guys, Garrett is coming on Wednesday. Dr. Garrett. Everyone, guys, can you say congrats to Dr. Garrett in the chat, please, before we go? Garrett, who wrote his PhD on political streaming, defended his PhD the other day. I don't know, maybe no. But please, can we get it might be a celebration for Garrett. Just defended his PhD. Truly, like, I'm not just saying this to be nice. I can't think of anyone in the world who's done more research on the specific area of, online streaming in relation to politics than he has. So please do think about any questions you might have. Let's try to get Dome for the Garrett stream. Garrett deserves it. So
Yeah.
any questions you might have, note them, write them down. We will get into it, and we'll hopefully get. I would argue, like, not. I wouldn't even argue. We'll go deeper on the stream Wednesday with Garrett than we were able to on the video, just because we have more time to do it. So I'm very excited about that. Again, and if you have questions for Garrett that you just don't want to forget, you could also email us at wisecracklive666@gmail and just put like question for Garrett in the subject line, and we'll have those on lock too. Or if you can't make the stream live Wednesday, but there's stuff you want to know, do that as well. Also, a reminder that don't forget it. Hashtag don't forget it. Any ideas you guys have for the holiday mega stream, shoot those to us at wisecracklive666@gmail. And also, if you have opinions on what I should do at the end of my Subaru lease, please let me know as well. You guys were very helpful when I explained to you the weird problem I was having with like nausea and headaches. And I got some emails and DMs from people who were like doctors. And then I went to my doctor and embarrassingly was like, so I host a stream and I talked about my health problems on it. And I got some feedback. But on that, no, this channel's way too woke. That's why we're pivoting to Christian nationalism. But nothing's more woke than helping with my Subaru. Okay, we got to go. Shouts out to Garrett. Shouts out to producer Henry. Shouts out to all of you. We'll see you on Wednesday. This has been Wisecrack's Case of the Mondays. Guys, it's another week, but we can do it. But carve out time for yourself. Okay, right now, before you leave the stream, think about a time this week, even if it's an hour, where you can just do something for you. Got it? Great. See you Wednesday at 10 a.m. Can't wait.
Have a good week, chat. See you soon.